Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander.
And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Ornery Tumblewagg. For 2 colorless and 1 green, it's a creature Brushwagg Mount 2/2 with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Whenever Ornery Tumblewagg attacks while saddled, double the numbers of +1/+1 counters on target creature, and saddle 2. Tap any number of other creatures you control with total power 2 or more. This mount becomes saddled until end of turn. Saddle only as a sorcery. So there's a bunch of things to like about this card. First off, it's a Brushwagg. All hail the mighty Brushwagg. We finally have another creature of this type in the game. Pretty powerful. And this is probably the best Brushwagg we've already seen because for a start, it's going to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature every combat after you play it, which is very powerful, including the same turn it comes down. So it kind of has pseudo haste and affects the board immediately, which is great. But that isn't all. There's a new mechanic on this card called Saddle, and Saddle is basically going to act the same way as vehicles, except that unlike vehicles, these creatures can still attack when they aren't saddled. However, you are going to want to be saddling them most of the time because I'm assuming almost all of them are going to have an attack trigger, such as this one, which doubles the +1/+1 counters on target creature. Now that's a very good trigger, obviously, and it's one that lots of decks are going to be interested in, particularly decks revolving around counters, and there's a million of those at the moment in Commander. But I think the reason this is so good is that you don't really necessarily need the saddle for this to be value. Getting a +1/+1 counter for free every turn, particularly on the turn it comes down, is already a super good ability. You don't really need the saddle ability, although of course that just pushes it over the top because it's very strong as well. The fact that you can even put this on itself makes it even better because you just don't really need to do anything else. You can just run this out on turn 3 and it's going to immediately be a 3/3 and then start making itself bigger and bigger turn after turn. Of course, as the game progresses and you have a few random creatures lying around, you can start tapping them, and then this actually becomes a threat that they have to deal with because it's not only building up your creatures with counters, it's also going to double a creature's counters every turn. It honestly seems kind of pushed, and I wonder if it's not going to be good in other formats as well, because just coming down and giving immediate value gives me strong Luminarch Aspirant vibes. Of course, that was a 2-drop, but it didn't have all the other upside that this has, so it's questionable whether this is much worse than that. Seems like a really powerful effect that a lot of decks are going to be interested in, and an absolute must-skill creature in the late game when you have a bunch of creatures with counters on, particularly if those creatures have trample. But for me, the fact that it's a Brushwagg is reason enough to want to put this into decks, so I'm looking forward to getting my hands on some of these. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care.